All right, the Jaguars showed you where they thought they needed players, and they showed you where they didn't think they needed players. Who is more important now that the draft process is over with? We'll talk about it today here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Come on, man. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast, where it is your team every day. Always thanking you for making us your first listen. Make sure wherever you get your podcast, you tap into that location each and every day, whether you watch or listen, so you do not miss an episode of the show. That's right. And today's show is brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into an Xbox. That's right. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. I'm going to tell you what you're going to learn more about here today on the podcast. How about that? Coaching them up. What does that absolutely mean when we talk about coaching them up? I'll tell you that. The running back room, it changed. Even though they still got the people they had before the draft, the outlook still changed because of the type of guys that they brought in. We'll make sure that we hammer that home. And now, players who became critical to 2025. There was a lot of talk coming into the draft, and this is where we're going to start. A lot of talk coming into the draft about the Jaguars stopping the run in their defensive line. Then the team goes out and doesn't add any interior defensive linemen, and they touch up the edge with a situational pass rusher McLeod out of Auburn. And then they add Mr. Ogba yesterday in vet free agency for Miami. And he is going to have a 1-year, $5 million deal for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Emanuel Ogba, 10-year vet, gives them a legitimate edge 3 here in Jacksonville. But nothing on the interior. Why was that? Why is that? Is it a case where they just got to the point where you can't do everything in 1 year? You can't touch everything in the offseason, right? And it has to be available for you. Maybe the timing isn't right. So it didn't stop them. Gabe Davis's contract didn't stop them from going out and adding 2 wide receivers, Diami Brown as well as Travis Hunter. Of course, we all know that. But somehow it seems like Aric Armstead's presence and the presence of Maason Smith did play a part and preclude the Jaguars from going out and getting other people. And I'll even throw Tyler Lacey into that discussion, right? At that 3 technique position. The reason why I'm talking about that spot mainly is because that's where Mason Graham was the whole time. And it was like, just take best player available. And the Jaguars had other plans. They traded up for Travis Hunter, and the rest is history. I'm of the belief that they wouldn't have touched the defensive line because defensive tackle was actually sort of rich in this draft. The Jaguars didn't touch it at all. I think they believe, and this is what's going to tie into coaching them up, I think they believe you bring in a new scheme and new different people with different things to do other than sitting here and running guys in and out of the game like they're hockey substituting. I think they believe that they can work with the things that they have, at least for this season. And while I continue to believe that it is always an ongoing process, and I believe that wholeheartedly. A lot of people say it, that they know it's not for long in the NFL and they're always trying to replace you, but folks don't realize how fluid it is for a team to always be looking to upgrade. I don't care if it's number 53 on the roster, if it's number 10 on the roster. Teams are always looking and trying to find a way to upgrade. So we won't ever sit here and come out and make a proclamation out of our mouth that it's built or anything like that. I'm never going to do that again, ever. Fell into that trap 7-8 years ago, and it's been going down here ever since. We have to always look at this thing as something they're always trying to do. Get somebody, until you can get somebody better, coach the guys up you have right now, and then That doesn't mean that you have to hedge your bets, though, when you go out and get people. Like, I'll get somebody and then have it in the back of my mind, I'm going to replace him. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But what I am talking about is there are players that have become instrumental or more instrumental in the Jaguars' success this particular season because of the way things have gone down and shaken down during the draft. And at the top of that list is a Maason, but it's a Maason Smith, not a Maason Graham. That's right. I told somebody yesterday, I think I said it on the pod, I said they told me they got their 3 techniques in the building. When you saw Aric Armstead, the man of the year, standing up there, giving an award out, and actually introduced Travis Hunter, the number 2 pick after the trade, let me explain something to you. Teams don't send lame duck dudes up there to do that. I don't care if they did win man of the year. They just don't do it, right? I think they have a plan for Aric. They coached against him. They know who he is. They know what he is. Hell, they probably tried to sign him in free agency last year and wonder why in the hell the Jaguars used him primarily as a big end last year and why they were rotating him. Guys like that need to get greased up. You either play them early or you play them late, but you don't sporadically just keep going in and out with people like that. So I do believe that they believe, the coaching staff, I believe that they believe that they know how to extract the best out of what is on the roster with guys like Aric Armstead and Maason Smith. And both of those dudes were good enough that they didn't want to go out and reach for Maason Graham. Just I've been saying it for I think it's about a month now. I put up a chart with the different positions on the defensive line, just in case there were people who don't, they don't look at it that deep, man. They watch the games and they listen to people, but they don't look at it. They don't know the difference between a nose tackle and a 3 technique and what a 4I or a 4B is on the defensive line. And some of that jargon, I have to make sure I look those things up. But I put that chart out to show folks how a picking of Maason Graham would be not necessarily redundant because he's not like anybody else on the roster. But I thought it would be an upgrade because of Armstead's age, and I thought it would be an upgrade because I just think he's probably a little better than Maason Smith, but I didn't think it would be that much of an upgrade to the point where it changes a whole bunch for the Jaguars because I don't perceive those two as being weaknesses. He just happens to be a dude picked in the top 5. Maason Smith was picked in the 2nd round a year earlier. It means Maason Graham is better, or at least was better at that time during the process. Aric Armstead is up in age, but it doesn't mean that 3 technique is the problem. Generally, when you talk about teams being able to stop the run, you're talking about the nose tackle position, and you're talking about guys staying in their gap coming from that 2nd level. And sometimes setting the edge, but you notice if it's a set the edge problem where guys are getting around outside and then the defensive end is overcommitting on the inside, that would be something that people would specifically talk about and blame that on the outside edge rushers and saying they're not setting the edge. But that's not what's happening. People are talking about what's going on when people are just running through the guts of, y'all know what I mean, running through the middle of the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. So automatically they point to interior guys. But it never made sense to me with the commitments that they already had for them to take Maason Graham. So that's why my first player, my most critical player, in my opinion, for the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2025, it's not going to be Aric Armstead because I think we know what to expect, but it's Maason Smith. I want him to show that he has a chance to be a superstar at the 3 technique position. He's a 6'5", 305-pound guy who has a body like Chris Jones, but now he has to start playing. And that would be asking too much for him to be that good, but he has to start playing up to his potential. We'll talk more about guys that could have an impact. We're going to start in a running back in the backfield where the running backs are. The Jaguars drafted 2 of them. If you're looking at the screen right now, I know some people are just listening, but if you're looking at the screen, you'll see that Bashul Tootin was picked at number 104 in the 4th round, and LaQuint Allen, a 3rd down back, was picked in round 7. And it seems like there's a specific plan for both of those guys. What that can mean for the running back room and individuals in that room, we'll do it in just a second to tell you here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. Surprise Insights is, in my opinion, the most important thing. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNFL, all one word, for half off your first year. All right, I hope you locked in here on Locked On Jaguars. I appreciate everyone over the last weekend. The numbers were very, very good, very, very high. I'm glad you guys decided that when something goes on with this team, y'all know where y'all want to come. Y'all want to come and hear what the OG has to say about it, and we appreciate that, and I do not take that for granted one bit. All right, so the running backs came in with 3 running backs, if you include Keelan Robinson, who wasn't really active for a lot last year, along with Tank Bigsby, who's running back 2, and Travis Etienne playing on his 5th year. What is the future? What's the present state of the room, and what's the future? Well, the present state is now they got 5 people. They got bodies, and I look for them to keep 4 on the active roster. And one of the reasons I have talked about ad nauseum is because Liam Cohen has situations where they had 2 tailbacks in the game. Now, that could have been just specific to Tampa because of the way their team was set up. But when you see stuff like that, it means that that's a part of their repertoire, that if you have the people to do it, they'll use that. A lot of people don't do that. Just generally, they don't think outside of the box that way. So for that reason, I said that, a few weeks back, I said running back 3 and running back 4 are really, really important. 3 is always important, 4 not so much, but I do believe when you're running 2, running back 4 becomes very, very important. The Jaguars got 2 guys in the draft. It was a heavy running back draft, and people said for a long time, don't go up and get anybody. And there was some thought that they might take Genty, but they waited until the 4th round, and they got Bayshul Tootin, who's the fastest running back in the draft. And then they got LaQuint Allen. LaQuint Allen is the epitome of a third down back, like Bernie Parmalee was, for a long, long time. You know what I mean? He epitomizes what that role is, and that role is a guy that can catch, a guy that understands, and this is the real important, pass protection, blitz pickups. He is astute at it, and to the point where James Gladstone even spoke about it. Probably more than a 7th round pick gets spoken about, but one of the things here is Gladstone prides himself on finding the right fits for his team with his experience with the Rams, finding the right fit for the team based on need and also based on the characteristics of those individual players. And when he says intangibly rich, it's like, hey, man, come in here and be a real good third down back, block, do all of that stuff. You'll have a good chance to make the team. I think the running back room is really, really good, has a lot of versatility in it this year, and I think it's going to be one of those situations where, hey, that's not going to be a weakness, and it's probably going to end up being a strength for the team. What does it mean for the future? Travis Etienne, if he has a great year, I can see Travis Etienne being offered to stick around Jacksonville for a couple more years, and maybe he will, especially if the team looks up and starts winning and there's not too much difference in the money. But this is his 5th-year option, and he's already playing on it. And what that means is he's going to be up for a contract, and there may be somebody who's willing to give him a whole bunch of money, even if the Jaguars aren't. But then Tank Bigsby, this is a big year for him too, because he don't want to get passed up. You want to start the year pushing, you're like 1A when it terms of starters. But you let one of these dudes, man, these young guys, I'll tell you, one way to make that bad dream manifest itself is fumbling the ball. And Tank has had some times and some instances in the past, man, where it's just been like Murphy's Law. Whatever can go bad or wrong at the wrong time really, really happened. But he also is somebody that after a slow start to his career really, really came on and really, really changed people's opinions of him. There are a lot of people that want him to be the starting running back here in Jacksonville. I think they're going to have good competition, and nobody else on this team is built like him. He does have a specific running style and skill set on this particular team that no one else has. Bayshul's a little bit like that, just a little bit, but he's just so fast that it's all people pay attention to. But he's also powerfully built, and he really puts one foot in front of the other really, really well. I think this is a good room. This is a really, really good room, and I'm excited for what they have to offer. If I had to guess, I'd say they start out with a heavy dose of ETN and Bigsby, and then maybe spot play the other two guys until that day comes where somebody just makes you not want to keep them off the field. And then it'll be ETN, and then after that, it'll probably be a mix of guys that'll all get, depending on the situation and the game plan, that'll all get looks for Jacksonville at the running back position. So I think running back is one of those positions that they did a really good job on in the draft. I'm excited to see, because of the body types, because of the speed, because of the versatility. I'm really, really excited to see what Liam Cohen is able to do with that group as a whole. All right, so we got through running backs. Now we need to talk about coaching them up, because in the draft, we've always talked about having a plan for a guy, having player development. I'm going to tell you what I think the Jaguars were able to accomplish, and why in some of the other areas where they did not touch, they're just going to rely on scheme and their ability to coach and extract the best out of their players. We'll discuss that and more in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel. These NBA playoffs are good, man, and they are rolling right now. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. I don't know if y'all seen that Denver Nuggets series with those Clippers, but it looks like the Clippers got something to say about that. And the Lakers are in trouble again as Ant-Man tries to send them home early. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props, from three-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, Tony Wiggins here with Locked On Jaguars, discussing players who became critical in 2025 in segment number 1. That was mainly Maason Smith. And now here in segment number 2, in segment number 2, after that, we talked about the running back room, the additions, what it means, the competition, and now we'll talk about coaching them up. No matter how much we get in draft mode, and no matter how much we want to talk about and discuss the addition and the procurement of talent, about what is missing and what is there, and the fact that the Jaguars led the league in games lost by less than a score, that they were close. They were probably, I would hate to say that they were the best of anything, right? Because they were so bad, and they only won, they finished 4-13 for a reason. But of all the 4-13 teams I ever saw, they seriously underachieved. I absolutely think that they were way better than that. Not too much better, because obviously if they lost all of those close games, there was a common characteristic, and the common characteristic is they lost them all, right? And even if they lost them all a different way, that's even more alarming, because they keep finding different ways for the same negative result to happen. I think what just happened is the Jaguars coaches came in here and said, they assessed it just like everybody else did. They said the Jaguars were soft, and the Jaguars were not a fast team other than one or two players. They couldn't run by anybody. They couldn't get open. They couldn't beat man coverage, and they definitely couldn't block people and move people with the offensive line. And then maybe they couldn't stop the run because, time of possession, they were always on the field. So in a nutshell, what it is it's just going to come down to, look, if we get people off the field on third down, if we play smarter, if we scheme things up better, if we were more active on the back end, in situational football, the defense will be out there less. There won't be a need to keep running guys in and out trying to save them, because we save them by getting off the field. Newsflash, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have our best players on the field until they tell us they need a blow, right? The only substitutions will be when people are actually tired or when it calls for it based on a schematic change or formation change. We're not just going to do it just to be doing it. And just by being smarter that way and having better communication and listening to the players and being able to talk to the players in a way that makes them feel like y'all are working together, as opposed to what I heard about Ryan Nielsen and what that was last year was basically, and this is the beauty of starting over. The beauty of starting over is there's nobody. It's almost like if y'all saw the movie Heartbreak Ridge, and I know I'm dating myself here or making myself seem old, but Clint Eastwood was a gunny sergeant in the Marines, and he went to straighten up this unit that they really, really needed, right? And the unit had kept running leaders off, right? So you come in and everybody has this bad attitude, and now you got to start whooping dudes up to change it. I think Ryan Nielsen was bought in under the guise that this defense was terrible, and they needed something else to happen because it was just awful here, right? And we forget that they won 9 games the year before. Now, in hindsight, when you compare that to them winning 4 games last year, you going, man, we could have kept that thing like it was. But it also seemed like he was coaching because somebody had told them they're this, they're undisciplined, they're lazy, they're that, and they're this. So he coached in a way, to me, that was based on the negative things or the negative report that someone had already told him. That's just my opinion. But when I heard at the end of the season that guys wouldn't, he wouldn't listen. I had heard from people in Atlanta and in New Orleans that players loved Ryan Nielsen. So could it be that the Jaguars players were the ones that were a little bit entitled? Could it be that the Jaguars players were the ones in this scenario that were, quote unquote, not listening and not easy to get along with? Perhaps that could be true, but it could also be true that the reason they were that way is because of the constant change. The reason they were that way is because y'all fired the coordinators and all the assistants the year prior, and those guys probably had good relationships with them, and they probably deep down inside felt it wasn't the defense's fault, it was the offense's fault, just like some of those coaches that left here. And what happened is you made them lose faith in you. You made them lose faith in you because they felt like you were just a little bit unethical in the way that you went about things, perhaps. Or Nielsen came in here and felt like he had to be Joe Clark because of what somebody told him. That somebody, in my opinion, was Trent Baalke, and treated those guys like that as opposed to giving them a clean slate and a fresh start. Not to mention the coaching stunk. All right. Probably didn't match up with everything that Nielsen wanted to do, or it certainly didn't match up to how he had been coaching in his other stops. But this is why, man, that lame duck coaching staff and just hiring a dude who's a hired gun, that's why it never works to me, because I just think players sense that kind of stuff, right? Now, I saw guys looking with intent when they heard the coach speaking at his opening press conference at the things that we've seen the Jaguars put out from social media. They got to go get it, man. They got to go get it this year. And I think it's the right kind of coaches. I think Anthony Campanile is going to do a good job. People know when it's almost like you don't know what you're doing, right? Folks know. You can't trick these dudes, dog. They know what it looks like to know what you're doing, especially the guys that won. Even if they haven't won here in the NFL, they know what it's supposed to look and feel like. And I don't think they had that. So I think coaching is extremely important. So wherever you think the Jaguars were deficient and they didn't touch it, veteran free agency is still out there. They can do that. They've already done that with Emanuel Ogba. I don't know if they're going to do too much more, but I'm going to look tomorrow at the roster as a whole and tell you if there are any weaknesses. And I'll be able to point that out for you real quick. If there are any weaknesses, can they be hidden by scheme? Are there some things that can happen to make that not a weakness? Are there some guys on the roster that can grow up? and turn those weaknesses into strengths. We're going to go through all of that, man, and make sure we get into that as we move on. But I'm excited to see what this new coaching staff can do with these players. I'm excited to see how the players are going to respond to the new coaching, to the new attitude, to the new ways of communication. Are they going to get a spark from the fact that they got Travis Hunter on both sides of the ball? The fun that they can have with that when he's on their side, and then when he's doing reps on the other side, and then when he's back on the other side, I think it's going to be something to really, really look forward to in training camp. But yeah, man, I'm a firm believer in the fact that coaching matters. I believe bad organizations and bad coaches ruin more good players than good players, or players ruin good coaches. I think it's the other way around more than anything. And the one key thing I'll tell you that makes all of that tie into what's going on here in Jacksonville is because sometimes alignment is the problem. And I'm not talking about the way that they line up. I'm talking about the clarity that you've seen between Tony Boselli, Liam Cohen, and James Gladstone, the communication, what they've done. I'm sure they've had some hard, tough conversations, and it hasn't been as clean as it looks to us. But I do believe that all through they're having good, tough, hard conversations, and they're leaving those meetings with plans. And those plans are to do things a certain way, be bold. I know y'all gonna get sick of me saying that, but it is the truth. All gas, no brakes, do everything with confidence, expecting it to work, and being able to adjust on the fly when it doesn't. And I think that coaching style is going to help resonate with these players. Make sure, if you want to learn more, and you should, about the Jacksonville Jaguars roster, you can check out Locked On NFL Scouting. It'll also help you in terms of getting ready for your fantasy football season and all your fantasy drafts. You'll understand the depth chart and all of the needs of every single team in the National Football League. Make sure you check out Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino with Locked On NFL Scouting, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, we're doing a roster. We're going to look over that roster with where there might be some little cracks for those little rodents to get in. We'll talk about that and more on Locked On Jaguars tomorrow. Make sure you make us your first listen. We'll see you, and thank you again for spending time with me today. We'll see you next time.